Today marks 363rd day. Share lessons I'll learn and continue to learn with you. My hope is that will inspire you, support your dreams, help you achieve your goals, and really empower you to become the person that you want to become. Today I speak about past and imagination. Past and imagination. And how they related, and what we're supposed to do about it. I think that you have heard saying that history repeats itself. History repeats itself. And I think that's true. History repeats itself. History repeats itself because we are actually very, very similar in our needs and our aspirations, with our emotions. And those emotions, those needs, transcends in the future with repeating itself, the cycles of going, like empires going up to the top and going down, going up to the down. So there's cycles of things, and because people are repeating itself over and over again. But I think that when we think about that, we need to understand that 20% of things are repeat itself. But the way how we're supposed to live is not to create future based on the past because it repeats itself, but based on the future, and that the future is based on imagination. I think that's it's a beautiful thing when you think about that people end up being on the moon, and that was never done before. So there's nothing to repeat. That means, of course, that now if people are going to the moon, that could be a repeated thing. But there's so many things that we have done for the first time, and especially now, 21st century, there's so many things that we have done for the first time. And everything that we do for the first time comes from imagination, not from repeating itself, not from the history. I think that's a beautiful thing when you think about, okay, like what do I need to do the most? Knowing that history repeats itself, so it means that we need to really understand that the potential risks, what's coming. So I think that when we look into the future, we need to create that future based on imagination, and sometimes look into the past for potential downturns, but for potential mistakes. Of course, if you have never done before, we're still able to look at you, okay, what history could teach me based on what I'm doing right now. Maybe the people that I'm working with, maybe able to understand how they do things and what they need. Because I think that is very, very important to understand. So the first part that I want to mention is that there is a lot of times we carry history that is not ours. And what I mean by that we carry history that is not ours, is that we a lot of times carry the patterns that are built by our parents. And that is even ancestral patterns. It could be generations after generations after generations. A lot of times there is, like, for example, alcohol or any addictions. A lot of times come from 3, 4, 5 generations in the past. Those addictions, those patterns were brought. And of course, that massive addiction is potentially easy to see that is bad. But there's a lot of other patterns that could potentially be brought through generations: overspending, maybe insecurities. Whatever it is, it might be looking to, okay, what ancestral patterns do I carry in myself, and that history repeats itself. And might be even relationships that we attract people, certain type of people that we attract in generation because we follow that history. And that means that we are not able to change those patterns, that emotional inheritance, until we're able to be aware of it. And that's why we always need to reflect: what is generation trauma? What are belief systems? What are family fears? And I think that what runs its family. And to this again, this is partly off. We're looking to more internal, and then be able to expand what runs in this city, what runs in this country, what are generational traumas in this country, because there is even generational traumas in countries. Countries went through massive things. There's millions of people have passed away because of wars, because of the sicknesses, whatever it is. But be able to look at, okay, what kind of things, what kind of emotional baggage do we carry in this country, in this family? And I think that could potentially be important because we're able to look into the cycles and how to break that cycle of certain way of thinking. Second thing that I want to mention is that relationship patterns, and this is a beautiful question because what you attract is what versus what you create. What you attract versus what you create. And it's interesting because we have a tendency to say that you grow yourself and you attract the person that you're supposed to be. But again, that this is a very interesting topic because a lot of times we attract who we are. But the thing about who we want to create is different. So that means sometimes we are able to ask, okay, so this person is to the, but this is person who I am, or this is who I want to be and who I'm creating myself to be. This is a massive question because sometimes you need to understand that some people love who you are, but not who you becoming. And that's why sometimes we need to ask, okay, is this person will grow with me together to become the person that I want to be? That's again based on the history of who you were, who your parents were, who you are right now, or do you want to look into your imagination of who you want to be, and is that person in line with the picture of you of your imagination? This is very very important because I said that so many people say that relationship that you choose in life is mostly most important thing in your life. It could make you or could break you. Number three is leadership and purpose, from repetition to impact. Now, one thing is that repetition brings familiarity. Repetition um, stops the transformation. Repetition stops sometimes transformation. That means what it means. It's repeated things that you repeat constantly. That means that you're not growing. So what we need to do is start looking at what could I do that I never done before. This is how you stretch yourself by doing things that you don't feel comfortable with. And what are the things that you're not comfortable with are the things that you've never done before. And how to do those things that you've never done before, really use your imagination to really find a way to challenge yourself. Because, of course, we understand that there are some things that we need to keep repeating every single day, like some habits that we're able to do every single day. Reading. Don't need imagination to read. Sometimes you're able to use imagination what kind of books you read, but majority of times you just need to keep repeating. But in general, when you think about stretching yourself, improving yourself, building your wisdom, building your strength, you need to have a lot of imagination how to do that, how to develop to the highest level of leadership and have that purpose and meaning and leadership. So from repetition to impact. And I think that when we're able to really use repetition, constant things that we need to do, but use imagination to really stretch ourselves, that's I think true leadership where happens. Number four is legacy and spiritual evolution. I think that we need to understand that a lot of times this repetition means evolution paused. Creation is evolution expressed. So that means that when we want to really evolve, transform, that means to really create something new. And I think that some days we just need to imagine new ways of doing things. I think that's the most beautiful thing that, like, you are able to ask, okay, how I used to do things in the past. And as like you look into imagination and a visualization and say, like, how I would love to do it differently. That's a beautiful question. So I've been doing this for 30 years. This habit, this way of doing this using this emotion. And then they ask like what could I do differently? How could I react differently? It's a beautiful thing when you start to use imagination in the things that you have done so many freaking times. I think it's very, very important. Even the things that we have done for 30 years. I think that's again, sometimes it's harder to change those. And then we're able to change our identity. We're able to change. I love Vin Zhang. It says that we able to change the way how we communicate because this is a habit. Most people think that the way they speak, this is how they will die with communicating with. But we have a voice, 82 pieces of voice that we're able, like piano, that we're able to use, dictate how to communicate, speak maybe louder, faster, slower, use a pause. Like, and I think that is a beautiful thing that in I think in the majority of things in life is exactly the same thing. To be able to really find a way how to make that small topic that potentially is in our minds and make it bigger and really start playing with it like piano and really find a way how to express ourselves in the highest possible way. And I think where do we go from here? And I think that we need to understand that we need to really create the personal pattern map to understand what are the things that we are doing right now, what are the patterns that we do right now, and based on that map, understanding okay, what are the key patterns that I'm running in my life, and then okay, use that imagination to recreate those patterns rebuild those patterns based on imagination, because a lot of times those patterns are built based on history, based on parents, based on country, based on society, not based on our own needs. So when we rebuild it, we build our imagination. And then that's why we need to do it, right? Personal imagination manifesto. Declare the future that you want for yourself, the life that you want yourself, the build, the things that you want to do, the anchor, the feelings, emotions, choices, actions, everything that you want to really see in that vision based on imagination. And I think that sometimes you need to really write those key habits that you want to have. Though I love the saying keystone habits, like those anchor habits that you're able to do. At least for the seed, sometimes you understand that you see that okay, you're able to be consistent, you're able to really do the right thing, you're able to do the things when you don't feel like doing them. And that really builds a confidence to really build even other things. And I think that sometimes we need to really understand that we'll need to choose to break some patterns. To break some patterns. And that sometimes that's not easy. Because we want to keep some habits. But again, sometimes we ask us like, do you want to keep this habit, or do you want to have this vision of my life that I have set for myself? Okay, let's break it. It doesn't matter how hard it is. Again, this is the one of the most beautiful things is, are you willing? Are you willing to break the habits? Are you willing to live your life based on imagination? Are you willing? Because I could tell you that living a life based on imagination is harder. But living life based on imagination is more meaningful, more purposeful, more blissful, more joyful. So if you want to have blank life, we live on history. If you want to have a life based on emotions and have those swings up and down, then of course we live on imagination. And I think that we need to understand always that we are not prisoners of history. We are just authors of possibility. We are writers of. We are not writing a history book. We're writing a action book, potentially fantasy book, science fiction book, because so many things that was fiction in the past now is just regular things. And I think that's the beautiful thing when we're able to use our imagination to create things life that we never thought is possible. So I hope you choose to win, and see you tomorrow.